Alright, so let's get back to some videos. I'm sitting here waiting at one of the mines to get escorted in. And let's say you want to get started in trucking. Where do you begin? Well, I'm going to say you ought to either start local, if you can, or try to find an hourly job, like a trucking company that pays by the hour, like my company. For example, if I have to be away from home, I get $45 a night. I get paid for pre-trip, post-trip, most breakdowns, within reason. I mean, I could sit there and charge them for a 6-hour wait for a tire change, but I just kind of charge them a reasonable amount of time since they decide to pay us good. We get overtime after 40, and generally speaking, we work between 55 and 70 hours. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that I'm not going to get into on this video about how we get paid and how it works out even better at the end of the week. But the one thing you got to remember getting paid hourly is that after a certain threshold on hours, you're actually working for less money. And this is just what I believe, because there's been times I have had been paid for some off-duty time that have put me over the 70 hours. Now, I didn't drive or work in a truck more than 70 hours. I just had more than 70 hours on my time card. And then after that threshold, you start actually end up paying a lot of taxes on it, and it does suck. And but I think for the most part, getting paid hourly works out better, because for me, I don't feel rushed to get the job done. Now, I do my best to get the job done as quick and as fast as I can, but I feel by getting paid by the hour, I don't have to put safety aside, and I don't have to do things that I see a lot of other guys that, let's just say, and I'm not saying all you guys, but let's just say guys that get paid by the mile. Now, these guys run hard, and there's nothing wrong with that. But man, when the weather gets bad or there's just something going on where you shouldn't be running that fast, like it just, to me, it's just a bad recipe. And before, when we were on paper logs, getting paid by the mile or by the load might not have been such a bad thing. But now you're restricted in your speed. Most companies have restricted speed on the trucks, and they have a lot of other guidelines and rules that you have to follow. Like my truck, for example, is governed at 68. Now, it's a heavy haul truck. The tires are big on the front, and for insurance reasons, this truck's only allowed to go 68 miles an hour. And I'm fine with that because I get paid by the hour. Now, if I was getting paid by the mile or by the load, it would drive me nuts, because in my head, I would be wanting to get everything done as quickly as possible. So where you need to start, you need to write everything out, and you need to think, what company are you working for? What are you hauling? What is the weather like? Are you going to be gone away from home? How much is it going to cost you to eat out on the road? Does a company pay per diem? Do they get you hotels? Like, you have to look at everything in its entirety to make the best decision for you. When I first started thinking about making this video series about where you should start and how to get into trucking, I was like, oh man, everyone should get paid by the hour and blah, blah, blah. But it's not necessarily true that you have to do it one way or the other. You just have to be smart about it. Now, my advice to you is, if you're just starting out, you may have to get hired wherever it is you can be. But you don't have to stay in that situation forever. Statistically speaking, every time you leave a job and go to another job, you're going to get paid more, or you're going to get to do something on the next level that you weren't getting to do before. And that's how I played my cards. I worked in a lot of areas where drivers were hard to get. So I was at an advantage already, because, companies, they need guys. And if you're someone who can learn fast, pick up on stuff, show up to work, pass a drug test, not break shit, you're going to do fine, and you're going to move up fairly quick. So, I mean, a trucking school, it's really not that expensive. Yeah, you're going to get your CDL, but you can't stop there. I did not go through a trucking school. I actually got hired through a state agency when I was 18, I worked as a summer aide for a state agency, and I was the only one of the temporary state workers that went out, and I got my Class B permit last minute, like literally like 2 days before my interview for the full-time job. I went to the DMV. I took the test for the Class A with all the endorsements, and I was on my third try, and I was just about to fail. And I said, let me switch it to a Class B. So I did that. I just got my Class B. At least I had some type of commercial driver's. I had my Class B with my air brakes. I went in the interview. I showed them the paper. I had my medical card, my Class B intern permit with air brakes and nothing else. And they said, that's all you need to start. Like, that's great, because then I could practice driving. I was able to practice with a trailer. I went back 2 weeks after I got hired and took the test again to get my Class A permit, which includes all the trailer testing and whatnot. And I did a lot more studying, and I was a lot more prepared, and I did pass it that time. So I was kind of lucky. I still had to go through the same DMV test that you guys did. At that time, they used to have a state representative that would give their own state employees tests, but they decided to stop doing that just before I got hired, which kind of sucked, because it would have been a lot easier, so to say, to get my CDL. But I had to do the same test that every one of you have to do. The only difference is in a trucking school, they're only going to teach you what you, and this may not apply for all trucking schools, but through my experience with talking to people and meeting people on the road and talking to guys at the truck stop, the trucking schools literally just teach you what you need to know to pass and get it done. And that's it. And then it's up to you to do everything else. And then the trend is, and I get it, a lot of you guys live in just regular cities where there's a lot of people and you work for regular wages. I live in a mining town. I live in northern Nevada, and wages here are on average 30% higher. And my company not only has to compete with other companies that pay well, they have to compete with the mines. If they don't pay me good, I can just quit and I'll go work for the mines making good money. Now, I chose to do this because this is what I love to do, and this is where I want to be. I could go to the mines right now and drive one of those giant haul trucks. But for me, just going and doing a regular shift every day, all year at the same place, doing the same thing scares me. And not really scares me, but I don't think I'm ready for it. The thing I love about trucking is we get to go to a lot of different places and do a lot of different things. Now, again, let's talk about, do you want to do local? Do you want to go like western states, central states, eastern states? Do you want to do all continental states? Do you want to like be a ready mix driver or what it is? It just depends on your mindset. If you're someone that's okay running back and forth from point A to point B, loading and dumping and loading and dumping and just doing the same thing all day, you can go haul ore, you can haul dirt, you can be a ready mix driver. Now, let me tell you about ready mix drivers. Those guys can make a ton of money. You can go work on those wind farms pouring foundations. You can work for a really reputable ready mix company in a lot of bigger states. A lot of these guys are union workers, so if you get in early, you can make a lot of money. I've seen ready mix guys make anywhere between $55,000 and $110,000 a year. It just depends on what company you work for, how much you're getting paid, and how hard you run, and what area you're in. And they don't even pull a trailer, but you're gonna be working really, really hard. Now, I've done ready mix, I've done side dumps, I've done ore hauling, I've done shotcrete, I've done local delivery, I've done snow plowing for the state, dump truck stuff. I've done a lot of different stuff before I ended up here. So with this being my first real video on track, first off, you need to decide what it is you want to do. And here's the other thing. When I started this journey, I didn't know what it is I wanted to do. I didn't know I wanted to be a truck driver. I only got my CDL because I had to get hired for the job. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life, because I'm not an academic scholar by any means. I floated through high school. I got good enough grades to graduate, and that was about it. I hated homework. I hated being at school. I hated learning. It wasn't for me. I wanted to go to work. And then, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. And the thing is I make more money doing what I'm doing in the heavy haul industry than a lot of people I went to high school with that wasted a lot of time and money in college. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're a book type person, there's nothing wrong with college. And here's another thing. If you're the college kind of person, then I want you to think about this. You should get your CDL anyway, because it's always good to have something to fall back on. Because with the economy and a lot of these jobs, there's a good chance you could end up getting laid off, and you can always fall back to trucking. Like, it's always good, whether you want to be a truck driver or not. Having your CDL isn't a bad thing. I have 2 boys and a daughter, and I tell my wife all the time, I'm going to train them when they're old enough to get their CDL. And they don't have to be truck drivers. I just want them to have it. Now, what they choose to do with it after that, or if they don't want to get it, whatever. But I'm going to tell them, hey, it's always good to have something to fall back onto. So no matter what, you can always get a job that pays well and you can take care of what you need to do. Now, being in the heavy haul industry is lucrative. Excuse me. The kind of stuff we haul pays really, really big money. Okay? We get paid by the hour. We get paid to sit and wait to unload and unload. There's times where it takes 5-6 hours to load. There's times where a 600-mile trek takes 2.5 days. I mean, it goes both ways. You've got to be prepared to sit. You've got to be patient. You've got to be able to think things through. You've got to be able to not break equipment, and you have to be smart, and you have to be able to be a self-starter. And a lot of guys that are going down the highway, they see these loads, sorry, a little indigestion there, the coffee. They see these heavy haulers, and that's all they gawk about. They want to be a heavy hauler. Oh, the money this, and the low boys, and the glory. And it's not all guts and glory. It's a lot of hard work. You're going to get muddy. You're going to get the inside of your truck muddy. You're going to have a lot of days where you're asking yourself, what am I doing? Why am I here? We have guys that literally make $2-3 less an hour than I do pulling medium duty stuff. You've got to, if you want to be a heavy hauler, you have to want it. You have to want to do it. That's the only way about it. If you don't want to do it, then you don't need to worry about it. There's nothing wrong with hauling cars or hauling freight. A lot of guys give a lot of people crap for, oh, you're a freight hauler, you're a flatbedder, you're a heavy hauler, you're a cement truck driver, you're a dump truck dummy, or you're a steering wheel holder. The truth is, if you're making good money and you're happy with what you're doing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You just have to find what you'd love to do and do it and stick with it and get good at it. Like I said, I went through a lot of different jobs trying to figure out what it is I want to do. So if you're just getting started out and you're thinking about getting your CDL, you can go to a trucking school, get your CDL, and figure out somewhere to work from there. It's probably not going to pay very well, and it's really might not be that fun. But whatever you do, do not get an automatic only endorsement. Get your manual endorsement. Is what will happen if you get an automatic endorsement. You'll get stuck somewhere until they can train you on a manual, and then you might have an option to leave. But if you get hired on somewhere with an automatic, you're going to get stuck in automatic trucks, and you're only going to be able to work somewhere with an automatic fleet. So get your manual transmission. It's not that hard. If you learn how to do it right off the bat, it's not that bad. But if you've been driving for 3 or 4 years with an automatic and then you try to learn a manual, it's going to be a nightmare. I've worked with some people that have ran into this situation, and my company is one of the companies where we believe, well, not my company, the people I work for believe in training people well enough that they want to stay. So we get a guy that has an automatic only CDL, he proves his worth, and he wants to be here and work with us. We're going to train him how to drive a manual, move him on up. And if he wants to leave after that, that's on him. We can't get mad at someone for wanting to self-better themselves, or, whatever the decision may be. So we got trucking school, right? So they're going to train you in the bare minimum you need just to get your CDL. I don't think you're going to get very much good experience with that. Now, you also have a lot of junior colleges, community colleges, and stuff like that. They get grants. Where I live, they received, I want to say like 200 and something or $300,000, and they were able to get 27 people their CDL. And yeah, it sounds expensive, but you got to remember schools operate entire, like universities and colleges, and the education system operates entirely different. Like they're actually going to train you and make you learn everything that's in that book that they think you need to know, and they're gonna train you really well, but it's going to cost a lot more than just going to a trucking school. I want to say a trucking school, like just your Joe Blow trucking school in any big city, is going to cost between $1,500 and $3,000, and they're going to get you your CDL in 2 weeks. You go to the college, it's actually a whole course where you have to do it just like anything else. So like I said, if you're the college type, that might work out for you. If you get some kind of grant, that's awesome. If you don't have to pay for it and you got the time to sit there and go to college, do it. Now, let's talk about, so we have trucking school and we have colleges. So those are so far the 2 places we talked about you can get your CDL. Number 3, you can get hired on with a company that will train you to get your CDL, like me. That's how I did it. It cost me literally less than $200 for me to get my CDL, and everything else was paid for by the hour to learn how to drive truck. So I get hired with a state agency. When I get hired, I pass my drug test, I do all my paperwork, my background, my driving record check, everything. Okay, and then they clear me and I start working. And within all that paperwork, I sign a thing saying it's either usually between 6 and 12 months, depending on who, where, and what you work for. They make you sign a thing stating that you agree that you will get your CDL within a set amount of time, or you can be terminated, for not getting it. And that's within good reason. They put a lot of time and effort and money into training you, and you're collecting a paycheck the whole time you're doing it. I got my CDL. I got hired on full time in September 28th of 2008. And I got my CDL in October, but the end of October that same year. So like 30 days or whatever, I had my CDL. I was done. That part of my commitment was done. I had my CDL. They cannot take that away from me. Okay, so we have truck schools, colleges, and then we have places you can get hired that'll train you to get your CDL. Now, the fourth one is there are mega carriers and trucking companies out there that will train you to get your CDL, but you have to sign an agreement to work for them. Now, like, let's just say one of these big mega carriers, I'm not going to name names, I kind of briefly looked into this. They're going to put you up in a hotel, they're going to give you a food voucher, and they're going to do, a few things for you to help you get by because they know you probably don't have a lot of money. And, excuse me, I'm waiting for an escort. That's why I'm looking around, making sure they're not going to interrupt me here. They're going to put you up and board. They're going to give you room and board, or however they do it, whether it's a hotel or on site. But a lot of these places, you have to pay all that back. The whole cost, like sometimes they'll subsidize part of the cost, but you have to ask these questions. Like, okay, let's say you're going to go work for mega carrier A. And they're like, just come work for us, come do all the paperwork, come do the drug test, fill everything out. We'll train you to get your CDL. We'll put you up in a room. We'll feed you. And boom. And then you start working. And then you see like 30% of your checks being deducted for these costs. And you're like, well, what the heck? Well, nothing's free. They know a lot of people can drive, but maybe you might not be able to afford to do this out of your own pocket. I mean, if that's the only option you have, it's really not that bad of an option. I mean, unless you want to work at McDonald's or, somewhere else. So you do something like this, you sign a commitment to work for them for a year or whatever. So you fill out your first year, and let's just say they're not paying worth of shit. You can move on. You have a year experience. Chances are you can find another job that will pay you a little bit better, have better trucks, better equipment, maybe a better run, whatever. By that time, you may say, hey, I don't want to be over the road. And it's just a matter of taking what you can get to get your foot in the door. You have to do whatever it takes to get it done. So, and the last option that you have for getting a CDL, if you know somebody who owns a truck, if they're an owner operator, if they have a small business and they have several trucks and you're really, really good friends with them and you're kind of a self-starter, you can go down and get your medical exam $50 to $100. You can go down the DMV. Anybody can go down the DMV. You can take the written test on the computer or whatever for your Class A, Class B air brakes, all your endorsements, and you can get your permit. And then once you have your permit, you can drive a semi with someone else that has their license. It's over the age of 25, I believe, in most states. So if you can find someone and you're a really, 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 really quick learner and say, hey, I'll just pay you X amount of dollars to take me out a couple times, show me how to drive, show me how to back up, do this, and then you can go take their truck and go take the test. But you got to make sure their truck has insurance and is registered and the lights work and there's no deficiencies. Okay, so that's where you start. Those are all your options to figure out what you want to, like how do you want to get your CDL. You can't just go buy it. You can't just be given it. You know, some DMVs might be more lenient and have better instructors than others, and some may not. So you have to take everything I gave you and think about it. Now, here's what I am going to tell you. Trucking has provided a good life for me. It hasn't always been rainbows and sunshine. You miss out on a lot of stuff, and you do work a lot. I'm home and I'm gone. I'm probably home 60-70% of the time, gone the rest of the time, so it's really not that bad. I mean, most of our trips are overnighters for the most part, or maybe 2 nights tops. Once or twice a year I'll be gone for a week or so. Really not that bad. It's kind of nice after running a lot of local stuff and just working hard when you can get out. It is nice. I mean, we run mostly to the states that are connected to us and like one state over, so it's not that bad. You know, I like what I do and who I work for, and I'm going to stick with it. You're going to start out in this and you may hate it, and that's fine, but don't quit there. Like, just because you hate the company and the equipment or the runs or the situation you're in, you don't have to stick with it. Like, you can figure out what it is you want to do, you know, and like I said, you just have to start somewhere, and the best place to start is just get your dang CDL. Now, if you already have your CDL, you can sit here and think all day long, like, hey, I want to go drive for these people. I want to go work for this. I want to haul that. I want to be gone. I don't want to be gone, and blah, 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 blah. And you're never going to know until you do it. I started this journey in 2008, and I started with this company in September 27th, 2016, and I absolutely fell in love with trucking again. Since 2016, I've been able to pay my debt off. We bought a brand new car. We bought a house. We had another child, and we haven't gone without or had to borrow money or do anything like that since I started this job. And these guys have blessed me and my family, and it is not all rainbows and sunshine. Like, shit happens, tensions flare at times, but you have to be able to look far ahead and not just down at the ground. You have to look at the big picture and think about where it is you want to be, what your goals are. And I went from someone who knew nothing. I never ran a step deck, you know, because that's not the kind of work I did in 2016. And now I'm hauling, 250,000 pound loads. So if I can do it, you can do it. If you guys thought this video was useful, entertaining, or whatever, go ahead and like it. If you have questions, comment, and I tend to get back to you as fast as I can. Like, I'll respond and like every comment. I'll work with you guys. If you have questions on what to do, I'll help you out. Like, if I can just help one person better their life, like, that's my goal. And go ahead and subscribe too if this is something you want to be a part of. I'm going to get into talking about each area of trucking more specifically and the advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to get to talking about more so how the pay works and like practical miles versus hourly and, stuff like that. And hopefully this helps you make an informed decision on what to do. But if you're out there struggling and you're tired of working a dead-end job, come drive truck. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, my kids, they see what I do. My boys, they tell me they want to drive truck when they're older, and it makes me absolutely happy. I say, man, you got to be just as crazy as I am to want to do this. But it's kind of a good kind of crazy, and it's a love-hate relationship, and if you can find your fit, that's where it is. So you guys have a good one. Welcome to the channel. I call myself Heavy Hauling Fool because that's what I do. You have to be a fool to want to be a heavy hauler, and I absolutely love it. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.